boys and girls, and welcome to another episode of the Fedora Hippies. See? Oh. The title, tonight's video is probably the most personal one I have uploaded to date out of the previous 7. And yeah, I'm trying to find closure from many issues from my life, some traumatic ones, some really traumatic ones. And so tonight, one of those is, I should never have been in that program in the first place. But anyways, I was, and it was a terrible experience for me. And I'm still haunted by it. So I'm hoping by going public in the best way that I know how at this time, that I would talk about at least one of the group sessions I attended weekly. Tonight, the individual therapy session was also terrible, but I'm going to discuss that in another video coming up very soon. Hopefully, if all going well, then the next few days. So tonight is just basically the process, how I came to writing this play and why it's important to me, and a special shout out to a friend whose name I won't mention, as to respect his privacy. So onward we go. How an epic DBT failure inspired me to write a play. After 2 years of many crises of confidence, writer's block, and uncertainty, 3 working titles, health issues, personal crises, a meltdown after a negative review of the first few pages from someone who read it, I finally got a full advanced draft done. Usually I was drafting one scene at a time and not finishing it completely. And well, and it is on an editor's desk as we speak. Yeah. So I'm very, very stoked about that. And indeed, it was a learning process from the first moment I wrote it. Many of you know the only pretty much writing experience I have was when I was doing my political snarking on the now defunct Sister Sage's Musings. I had even taken 2 courses in playwriting. The first one I took was in the fall of 2016 at the Quebec Writers Federation. It was taught by a local playwright and actress, Alex. Oh, sorry, Alex, I forget your last name, but you know who you are. And the other, which I found even more important, and I probably liked it better because I can refer to the videos anytime I like, anytime I need some piece of info or a little bit of advice. Yeah. I had taken online a David Mamet masterclass, which I received as a Christmas present from a very dear friend who was with me at the infancy of this piece, as mentioned. He had read draft after draft with me, provided much necessary critique with honesty, and I couldn't have done it without you, dude. And you know who you are. And once again, that gift was awesome. So, yeah. But first, we're going to talk briefly about what DBT is, how the particular program I was in was run, and my own shit show of an experience with the program. First off, DBT, long-form dialectical behavior therapy. What is it? What is it? Well, it was developed by Marsha Linehan, a psychologist who also apparently suffered from borderline personality herself, and she came up with this workbook separating different modules, which I will not get into because personally to me, I thought they were a waste of time. Some of them were useful, I'll admit, but most of them were a complete and colossal waste of time. It is usually used to treat borderline personality disorder. That was the original intent of Ms. Linehan when she developed the program and the workbooks. But as it turned out, there were some studies that suggested, again, I'm not really convinced of this, but anyways, there were studies that suggested that DBT was also useful in helping people with bipolar disorder, eating disorders, and addiction. But I did my own research of when it does not work. And apparently it does not work on people who have PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety disorders, and major depressive disorder. Yours truly has all three in spades. Yes, I still shake my head when I think about what I went through in the therapy. Yes. And trust me, kids, I've been in and out of all kinds of therapy since, well, when I could walk. So pretty much know how things are supposed to go. I know the drill. And this was everything but. I realized it was supposed to be innovative for its time. It's supposed to be cutting edge. But I've noticed nothing much has evolved since 1993. Hey kids, we're in 2018. My program, in particular, the way it was run, was 1 individual session per week and 2 group therapy sessions per week. I'm only going to talk about one of them in this video tonight. As mentioned, an upcoming video will be about the individual therapy that I must try to receive closure from. Okay, onward. The group session that inspired the play, the one I'm going to talk about, it was led by a very cranky old psychologist who, to me, clearly did not want to be there. And as time went on and sessions went on, the more I believed, I don't think the man really wanted to be there. And I had heard he was out of retirement and wondered why the hell he was back. Just enjoy retirement, dude. There was another facilitator, a younger woman who I felt was naive and likely did not have yet the street smarts. The old man loved things bizarre. For openers, he would start open with a meditation session. Well, okay. Meditation is not my thing. I cannot sit still for long periods of time. I don't like counting my breaths. In fact, that stresses me out even more. It's, I'm one of those people you tell to relax. I'm going to be so freaking stressed out about relaxing that it's even more stressed out. You know? Some nerve keeps me on my toes, keeps me honest. Anyways, onward. So anyways, to get the meditation sessions and going, the old geezer would take out his cell phone and he would put on like church bells. Very sharp sounds. Church bells. Now, for those of you who don't know, another one of my issues is I have sensitivity to very sharp noises, things like babies crying or boards or skids dropping at the supermarket, heavy on the floor, tires popping, you name it. Like, and yes, bells, sharp noises, like they literally are painful to my ears and they make me, cringe, and I'm like this. And I just want to be backed off in a corner. I don't want to hear it. And more to the point, I can't deal. I had mentioned this the first session to him. Like, I had asked him, is it absolutely necessary to ring bells? Is there any way else to open the session other than those bells? Those bells are loud. They're sharp. Surely you can find something more new agey, more tranquil, more serene. It really wasn't necessary. Later on, from time to time, he would change it up, or if he wasn't there and the young lady was leading, she would change it up. But for the most part, he stubbornly held fast to those bells. And he would used to say to me, the bells can't hurt me. Really? Well, glad you're not strapped with this issue. And it showed right away a lack of empathy on his part. And I always thought therapists, at least the therapists I had before, for the most part, had empathy. He did not. Um, so he continued with the damn bells. Like he was Pavlov and we were his dogs. Oh, yes. He would often fall asleep. He would often fall asleep during sessions. He would nod off. You'd see him nodding like this. Narcoleptic Nick. Kind of weird. And I noticed that other patients in the group were wondering, they were thinking how rude he was. Why is he sleeping? I remember taking it up with my individual therapist. Why the fuck does he fall asleep? And she was there. Well, why do you think he falls asleep? And I said, I have no idea. I'm asking, but we think it's rude. And if he doesn't want to be there or he ain't feeling too good, perhaps he should stay home. Yeah. But I never found out the answer to that either. Next, there were 2 rules. And this, boys and girls, is the classic example of where fact is stranger than fiction. Okay? The number 1 rule he had was no questions. No questions. It's like, what the fuck? I mean, it goes to the old cliche. The one who asks the most questions learns the most. And how else do you learn without asking questions? But nonetheless, no questions to the facilitators, to the therapists, no questions to other members of the group. And then the second one, which was even more absurd, and I still don't know why to this date or how this served a purpose. No clue. Yeah, we were supposed to quote unquote keep it in the room. Yeah, but no, I know what you're thinking, kids. Before you start emailing or blasting my comments section, it goes without saying that everything that stays in the room remains confidential. You know, what goes on in Vegas stays in Vegas, but that wasn't what he meant. A completely different context. What he didn't want was for us to discuss our lives from the outside world whenever you make these rules. He wanted to discuss only what was happening in the here and now in the room. That's like, geez, what is happening in the room? other than some dying plants, creaking mismatched chairs. What the fuck went on in that room? And one day I did sort of boldly come out and asked him, the idea. Dude, you do realize that we are here because we can't function outside in the outside world? Oh, but no, he was hearing none of it, and I don't know why. So needless to say, with the 2 rules in place, no questions, and keep it in the room, aka do not talk about your lives from the outside world, only talk about what's going on in the room, there would be these deathly lulls of silence. Like, it was deafening. The silence was deafening. There was, I mean, the clock on the wall above the door, you could hear it ticking every second. Tick. I wonder, and when maybe it's simply he wanted to stifle dialogue. He didn't want to hear anything. Maybe during session he didn't want to hear any emotions, that's it. No emotions. No conversation. He wanted things silent because he wanted things easier for himself. Yeah, I can buy that. I mean, until I see proof to the contrary. He came out, not getting anything out of it. Long after my discharge from the program, I continued to have nightmares about it. I thought about it nonstop. Much had stuck in my mind. I had a complaint to the Ordre des Psychologues du Québec, aka the OPQ, against my individual therapist. I lost in that complaint. So for, after years of being ingrained that you are a, second-class citizen, that I did not get justice for what she did, kind of reinforced it for me. But as I mentioned, I'm going to discuss more about the complaint when I do the video about the individual therapist, hopefully by tomorrow sometime. So I had been keeping a personal journal as I was on that road, and then I thought I would turn it into a novel. Then I thought, I don't think this will work. But hell, what about a play? Drama! You can't get more dramatic than group therapy. I mean, what better setting for a play than group therapy? So to the first draft, I began in earnest. Oh, what I didn't know back then. Things like believability, relatability of characters. I mean, my heroine is based on yours truly. Except I turned her basically into CK on steroids. As a rule, I have trouble standing up for myself. Never believed I had the right to do so. It was one of the reasons, it was one of the things I was seeking out of the program. Like, why am I not allowed? That question never got answered. But anyways, I digress. I never did well in confrontation. Meryl Streep's speech, when she talked about, paid a tribute to Carrie Fisher, and near the end she had said what Carrie had said, take that broken heart and turn it into art. And that is what I'm trying to do in trying to find some closure with issues in my life. Call it a midlife crisis. Okay. We all have them. We all deal with them in different ways. But anyways, back to the process of writing. I mean, the first time I had a group of strangers read it was my course at the QWF. And they did like it, the basic premise of that first draft. But they had some concerns. And yeah, I was expecting to be concerns. I was expecting to hear people say they hated the damn thing. But I didn't get that. So I was happy. I felt I was on the right track. Nobody hated it. Just some issues. Some major issues in particular that my protagonist, my heroine, the one who's based on me, was not likable. Like, I had turned her really on to CK on steroids. Likeable, so, perhaps rope her in a bit. My friend who had read it, way back when had said the same thing. And I remember a group member saying that she really wanted to root for my protagonist, but felt she couldn't at this juncture. So yeah, rope her in, tone her down a bit. The other one was the antagonist. As my friend pointed out, I turned him into a caricature. I have such detest for this man that I have such disdain for this man that I had a very difficult time trying to develop the antagonist, who is based largely on the older therapist. Yeah, he'll have a different name and some fictitious background. But for the most part, he's based on that old therapist. And my friend said I had to make him more human. I had to make him more real. And boy, did I have something difficult. Because here's the thing, and not that it is an excuse, and it's not. And to grow as a writer, I'm probably going to have to outgrow this mode of thinking. But if you don't view someone as human, how do you make them human? Whether you're writing about them or talking about them or even thinking about them. How do you make them human if they are not human to you? And that has been one of the biggest challenges in the past 2 years of writing this play. And the other thing was, in the play, there are some of the weird, bizarre things that went on in the group session. Like I said, fact is stranger than fiction. But they found it absurd. So maybe try to invent some reasons as to why they happened. I don't know why for real, just invent them. Why not? It's fiction anyway. I remember when my friend, the first thing he said after reading at length about my antagonist, he was yelling, "Oh, I hate him!" It's like, the first thing I thought was, oh, good. I was really pleased with myself because I did remember from the workshop that I was attending that fall at the QWF is that characters should elicit an emotion, a response from your audience. And, well, hatred and anger are certainly an emotion. They're certainly both emotions. As a matter of, yeah. So I thought to myself, oh, great. Great, somebody reacted to it in this way. I did a good job. But yeah, But he had other suggestions. He would always tell me, my friend that is, he would always tell me, where I improved upon and what needed work still. And he would point out how I evolved through draft after draft that he had read, and yeah, dude, once again, thank you. You will get a special mention if this is ever published as a book. And if it goes up on stage, there will be definitely special mention. I was still stuck on a plot. I kept, none of the plots were good. None of the plots I could come up with. And then I went months without writing. It's like, I'm stuck. What's my plot going to be? I mean, you can't have a play. You can't have drama without a freaking plot. You can't even have a novel without a plot. And then it hit me later on. My heroine does not have to land the knockout punch. And maybe it would be better if somebody else landed that knockout punch. Somebody who didn't have a voice before, or somebody who was isolated. Somebody who couldn't stand up for themselves. Somebody who was perhaps even more messed up than most of us were. I felt it, and as I was writing the patients, about the other patients in the group, I think, after reading the first full draft, this last draft that is now at an editor's desk, I had come to the conclusion there is a little bit of me in each of those patients' characters, the characters of the patients. They were all very different. They had different traits of yours truly in them, but they all had a little bit of me in them, and maybe that's how it should be, because it's my own experience. It's my own point of view, after all. So I think, yeah, I hope I struck the right balance, but I'm sure the editor is going to have other suggestions, which I can't wait to hear. So yeah, while I don't recommend DBT for anyone after seeing blogs and other videos here on YouTube, and after much pain and damage the program left with me, the only thing I can say positively is that I did something completely different and wrote this play. It is my dream, my ambition, to see it played out on a stage somewhere, or at least at a dramatic reading to start. And yeah, I know David Mamet in his masterclass said that drama shouldn't teach, it should solely entertain. I would like to hope that this production is a creative and original means to bring awareness to mental health issues. So that's it for now, boys and girls. I've got to sign off. So remember, take care of yourselves and each other. And yes, especially if you find somebody isolated and alone and in trouble, try to reach out to them. And they may not show it right now or right away, but they will appreciate it, and odds are you will have transformed their lives in some way. Good night, kids!